Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Uh so I'm hoping that this microphone kind of behaves itself. It's not been recording the best sound, but maybe it's just the way I speak. So I think I'll try to speak a little bit better, a little bit clearer, and yeah. Well, welcome. I wanted to talk about this idea of pain. And this, over the past couple weeks, I've been beating myself up for some of the mistakes I've made recently and some of the mistakes I've made maybe over the last 2 or 3 years. And there reaches a point where beating yourself up stops serving a purpose. You have learned your lesson, and to continue to ruminate over your mistakes begins to hold you back and affect your life in a negative way. And so, as I was sitting in rumination, I like to think I'm a pretty positive person. And so I reflected on how much I was thinking about these things. And I came to this realization that we tend to create a lot of the pain that we feel. We tend to manufacture it, and perhaps it's because we're advanced creatures. We have the ability to think critically and think deeply. And I thought about how a dog lives. And oftentimes I look at a dog playing and enjoying, just enjoying various things, running. Most of the time, they are in a good mood. And I'm kind of jealous of the way dogs live, right? They live much shorter lives than we do, but they never seem to get too hung up on anything. And they're pretty solutions oriented in the moment. If something's bothering them, they generally figure out a way to deal with it. And one of the most uplifting things I think I've seen before, I've seen it on more than one occasion, is dogs that have some kind of disability, right? I've seen dogs that can't use their back legs. I've seen dogs that are missing a leg. And um, I've seen dogs that are completely blind, where they've lost both of their eyes, and they kind of just find this way forward to get on with living, right? And they don't think about, at least we don't know, but it doesn't appear that it affects them in any real negative way. They don't sit and think about what the other dogs are thinking. they they just carry on the best they can, right? And from my point of view, it seems like they still try to maximize the living that they're doing, right? So coming back to this idea that we we seem to manufacture or create a lot of the pain that we experience. And yeah, when it comes down to and I want to preface this by saying I'm not including in this pain that is caused by some terrible trauma or some terrible traumatic experience that somebody went through and the pain that they continuously go through, because that's not something that that person asked for, and that pain that they continue to experience, for example, a PTSD, they don't they wish they could not experience it, and they are not in control of that recurring pain. So I want to preface that I'm not including that in this kind of thoughtful exploration thoughtful exploration. But again, coming back to my own overthinking and creation of my own pain, was trying to think about why that is, right? And where I kind of netted out is that we as human beings, we tend to assign meaning to things, because you can have the same person look at this, or the you can have two different people look at the same situation and take away different things. And so I was thinking about this idea. So back to the meaning that we assign, right? The pain that I feel. Actually, let me go back to this. Let me go back. Let me start here. In terms of like my own biological needs, right? Food, um, water, some degree of uh, social activity, sleep. Like those are basic needs, right? That if I didn't have food, if I didn't have water, I would not be able to live. I would not be able to survive. Same thing to a certain extent. If I never slept, that would eventually affect me. And I guess like societal interaction, that is a need, but it's not going to make you, your body is not going to stop working, right? And you hear this a lot, this idea of purpose, right? People trying to find purpose, and when they're not able to have it in what they do for a living, or what have you, that generally creates a very negative or an unfulfilled feeling, right? And again, there we go. We're at pain, right? And that purpose is created by ourselves. We're the ones that determine what that is, and we may search for that purpose, and we determine whether or not we find it. We eventually find it. So yeah, coming back to my own discomfort that I caused, where I sit in expectations that I may have had for myself, expectations that I had for an outcome. I think that's I'm assigning that I'm assigning that meaning to those situations, and I am assigning meaning to those outcomes. Uh, I may have just repeated myself. Yeah, I assigned meaning to my expectations and those outcomes, the outcomes that came. Um, so I have no solution for that, but I think it's interesting that we do have control over that meaning that we assign to things, right? And here's an interesting thought experiment is that I have this right here. Um, my daughter gave me this for Father's as an early Father's Day present, right? And to go back to this idea of assigning meaning, right? Now this cup, it's it's a piece of ceramic, right? It appears to be this like glazed piece of ceramic. And this cup, I'd venture to guess that there are probably hundreds of these cups in the world that look exactly like this because when they made it, my daughter didn't make this um, herself because she's 6. So I don't think she could have made, well, she can make a cup, but she didn't make this one. Now, like I said, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of these cups. But when she gave it to me for Father's Day and she wrapped it herself, that assigned meaning to this cup. So again, going back to this cup, it's was made elsewhere, but as soon as she gave it to me, it had meaning. So now if this cup breaks, I'll probably be sad. If this cup gets lost, I will probably be sad. And every time I make coffee or tea and I drink it from this cup and I look at the cup, it makes me feel a certain way, right? Not pain, but some kind of emotion, right? And so this video, I wanted to make it as a sort of thought experiment in terms of exploring the pain that we put ourselves through. Now, I'm not invalidating people's pain, and I'm not speaking to all pain, but mainly to the pain that maybe we could lessen somehow or lessen by the amount of meaning we place on those expectations at the root of this pain, where maybe it's more about forgiving ourselves, especially if it's tied to some mistake, or maybe weigh those expectations a little bit less with the hope of lessening the way the weight we feel from those outcomes, or lack thereof an outcome for our expectations, and get back to the things that we do have that make us happy, bring us joy, and yeah, spend our energy, invest our energy in those things, right? And realizing, hopefully, that we have enough food. It may not be the thing, it may not be the exact thing we want, but we we're not going to bed hungry. We get enough water, and we have a safe place to sleep at night, and yeah, realize that if we have those things, then we're safe. Yeah, we're safe. But I'll leave it there for now. But this has been the hard reset, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.